Alright, so here's the monkey bike. I just rode over 1,000 miles last week. Just did another 20 or so miles just right now. So I'm doing basically a 1,000-mile review. Obviously, see my videos, just know that I've done lots of stuff to it. Like got the Öhlins damping rod in the front, got the Öhlins in the back, so the ride is completely different. It's a lot smoother compared to what it was. Yeah. Besides that, let's see what else did I do to it. Oh yeah, I put in the stainless steel braided lines, front and back. So that definitely makes the brakes feel, you have better feel basically. Versus the rubber lines is kind of vague feeling. That, and internally, in the engine here, I have the slipper clutch. So got that in there, and that made the the downshift and such smoother. Or sometimes I miss shift, or I shouldn't say miss shift. I should say shift into the wrong gear. Instead of shifting up, I might accidentally shift down, and I'm like, oops. And the slipper clutch makes a big difference in that regards. It doesn't just want to lock up that rear wheel, skid that rear wheel for that brief moment. It actually lets it spin because the slipper clutch is working. What are the main things that I do? Oh yeah, I got the JDM turn signals, LED turn signals, and LED tail light, and also the rack, the OEM rack as well. That and other things that I do. I got the outboard bearing. Where the stator is, there's an outboard bearing, because the crank there, there's two bearings on each side of the connecting rod. Then there's also a bearing on the other side where the clutch side, but the stator side doesn't have it. So I put that in. So those are, for the most part, those are the aftermarket stuff. Oh yeah, and I got a little foot pedal, or excuse me, foot review mirror. So that's about it. Yeah, so that's that. The monkey is it's a fun little bike. It is so light. So like I said, I just came down from a 20-mile ride, up the mountain, down the mountain. It's so light. It's turning and stopping feels effortless because it's so light. Normally, like on a big bike, like my last big bike, my Yamaha, I think it was pretty quick steering because of that short wheelbase and kind of a steep head angle. So it turned in really quick, but at the same time, there's a lot of weight there, and you could feel it. You can feel it, and at the end of a ride, on that bike, I'm usually pretty beat. This bike, it's so light that there's like no effort almost. It's almost telescopic, telepathic. So basically, I don't get really tired on this thing. Same with the brakes too. The brakes is it's so light that the brakes, you hardly feel anything at all. So real easy to ride, real effortless. Everything is smooth. The main thing is the shifting. The shifting is always been kind of feels kind of loosey feeling, kind of like it doesn't have a very solid click into each gear. It's very soft. It's good that it's soft and easy to shift into, but it doesn't have like a very positive engagement. Like an indent shift in each shift click. So I wish it was a little bit better in that regards. Other thing I don't like about the shifter is that when you're in first gear, even if you're in first gear, the shifter could still push down. So sometimes when you're in first gear and you're not sure if you're in first gear, you think you're in second or something, and you like shift down and you think you're like there's a gear, but there isn't. Or when you're at the light, you're like, oh, am I? Yes, there's a neutral indicator, but sometimes you're like or am I in first gear or not, ready to go, you know, because it doesn't stop, you know, on regular motorcycles. Once you get into first gear, you really can't push the shifter down anymore. So that's another thing. So I think that's the biggest weakness of this bike, of the engine, is that is this, you can still push down, and the shifting feels very you know, it's not very positive engaging. So I think that's the main thing with this bike. Anything else feels pretty good. Yeah, I can't think of anything bad to say about it. The seat's fantastic. It's, you know, it's the most cushy seat I've ever sat on as far as motorcycle is concerned. You know, your butt does get a little bit tiring after riding all day. You know, like I said, last weekend well, I'm not sure how much I said it, but anyways, last weekend when I rode over 10,000 miles, rode over the odometer rode over 1,000 miles. I basically did a trip up to the city, basically all day. Well, that was like an all day ride. I started out at, I think I started riding at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then getting home until like after 6, I think. So it was like, you know, I wasn't riding the whole 9 hours, but I was riding most of it, and for the most part the seat felt all right. You know, my ass didn't get numb. You get a little bit kind of tired because, you know, when you're in the saddle for that long and you're not used to being in the saddle for that long, your butt will always get tired. So yeah, so I think it's a great seat. Man, I really can't think about anything bad to say about this. Any critique of it, everything is pretty, I really like. I mean, obviously it's only a 125, so it doesn't have a whole bunch of power. You know, sometimes I wish it had more power, but you know, if you want more power, get a different bike. You know, some people do big bore kits or whatever. I don't plan on doing this. You know, that's just, you know, I'd rather not. I could do it, but I'd rather not. I'd rather just, you know, if I was to spend that kind of money, I'd rather just get a bigger bike. You know, like a CB 300R or something like that. I'm still considering getting that, since I don't have a big bike anymore. Let's see what other things about this bike. So that short wheelbase here, you know, this is the wheelbase is shorter than the Grom, right? I think it's like 1 inch or 2 shorter than the Grom wheelbase. So as far as like handling goes, and turning and stuff, it does really well. I mean, that's really well. It's you know, when you're getting up to like 60 miles an hour, it doesn't necessarily feel the most stable. It is stable, but it kind of doesn't, because, you know, because of the short wheelbase. But it is stable. It just kind of feels like it isn't. But that short wheelbase, you know, when you're in the twisties, that's real fun. But you know, I haven't really pushed it much in the twisties because the tires, you know, these tires are still the stock V rubber tires, and then you know, they're like a dual sport type tires, and you know, these are like, I don't know, 80/20 tires or something like that. So they're not the greatest tires, but they're okay. You know, the tires are very vague. So when I have some time, I'm gonna put in my my KD ones, my Kendev KD ones. And they're basically kind of like racing tires, low budget racing tires, basically. Let's see other things about this bike. Fit and finish is great. I like that most of it's metal. You know, I mean, obviously the airbox is plastic, and a couple of other things is plastic, but for the most part, you know, it's all metal. You know, the fenders and stuff, it's all metal. The bucket here is plastic as well, but the rest of it's all metal. The exhaust end cap over here, that's plastic as well. The cover, it's actually a cover, it's not really a part of the exhaust, it's just an exhaust cover, end cap. So not too much plastic, like, you know, like a lot of modern bikes. So that's one of the cool things about it. I think that's one of the reasons why it's more expensive than, say, compared to a Grom. It's quite a bit more expensive than the Grom, and the reason is because, you know, the Grom is the whole bodywork is pretty much all plastic, right? So let's see what other things about this. So I wish it had more function as far as the instrument goes, you know, it only has your odometer reading, trip A and trip B, and that's it. It's nothing else. I wish it had a clock on here, you know, tell you what time it is. That would be nice. So I think that's my biggest complaint with this. I mean, there's other stuff too, you know, like a gear indicator. It only has a neutral light. You know, being this bike being more premium, you know, it would be nice to have a gear indicator, because half the time I don't even know what gear I'm in. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure what gear I'm in, and I shift, and I'm like, oh, you know. But you know, I guess that's more on me than the bike. But it would have been nice, you know, being a more premium bike. It would have been nice to have a gear indicator. For sure, I would have want that clock. Yeah. As far as fuel mileage goes, I think I've been averaging, you know, riding this thing, I pretty much ride it wide open throttle. And mostly in the mountains. I hardly ever ride it out on this, like in urban areas or flat spots. I usually always ride it up in the mountains. So my fuel mileage, I'm getting about 120, maybe a little bit more than 120 miles a gallon. So that's really good. But you know, I'm a lightweight rider. You know, when I'm fully suited up in my leathers, I weigh under 160 pounds. So that's really light. You know, today was the first time I've ridden just in street clothes in a long time. I haven't done that in a long time. Normally, when I'm riding, I'm almost always, you know, I'm at GAT, almost always. So today, you know, with just street clothes, I'm probably only like 140 pounds with street clothes on. So and I actually noticed that difference, you know, that 15 or so pounds lighter, 15-20 pounds lighter. I actually noticed the difference when I was going up the steep hills. I actually noticed it was going up slightly better, and even more noticeable was the suspension. So when I'm fully geared up on my leathers, you know, on the Öhlins, when you get the Öhlins, they give you two sets of springs. You know, they give you the lighter springs and the firmer springs, the heavier springs. I have the lighter springs on here, so and this is basically factory setting. I didn't change the preload, I didn't change the rebound or compression, and when I'm fully geared up, it feels a little bit on the soft side. So it feels like basically I should, you know, increase the preload a little bit, or maybe increase the compression a little bit, give it, you know, maybe one more click of compression. But in street clothes, it felt like it was perfect. But you know, this is obviously, you know, not factory, so factory one I wasn't a fan of. It was kind of bumpy, kind of pogoy. Dampening wasn't right. I think the spring rate was okay for my weight, but the damping rate was, you know, was too pogoy. Let's see other things about this bike. Critique wise, the gearing. If you look at the actual transmission, the teeth on the transmission, the gearing ratio, it's the same as the Grom. I can't remember if the actual, because you know there's obviously the four speeds, right? But then before that, you have the crank, the crankshaft to the driven shaft. So those two also have teeth on them as well. So I'm not sure if that gearing is the same as the Grom. I assume it is. I don't see why they would change that. So let's say, you know, internally the engine is all the same as the Grom, gearing wise. And even the countershaft sprocket and the rear drive sprocket is also the same as the Grom as well. So the only difference in gearing is the tires. So these tires are 80 profile versus the Grom being a 70 profile. Same width, same width with slightly higher profile means that these you know, tires are a little bit bigger. So the bike itself is actually geared a little bit taller than the Grom, and I noticed that, and for my lightweight, I noticed that this bike is probably geared a little bit tall the way it is. So maybe if it was the Grom size wheel tires, it might be just perfect for me. But the way as is, with how much power it has and the whatever gearing is, going up steep hills, it's a little bit on the, I think a little bit on the tall side. Even on the flats, I feel like it's a little bit on the tall side. The highest speed I've ever seen on here is 62, maybe 63. That's that's definitely downhill. I've never seen that much going in the flats. On the flats, the highest I've ever seen was probably 60 or 61. Maybe I got to 62 with like a with a tailwind drafting behind a big truck with possibly a very slight decline. Um, maybe maybe I got to that 62 speed, but just regular flat, just regular wind, no drafting, sitting upright. I get the most I get is probably about 58. Again, I'm a small guy too, so so the big guys, they probably only get to maybe 55 at the most. Having a bigger profile. uh, so once I have the newer tires, sitting in the shed ready to put on here. So once I put that on, I think the gearing will probably be just right. Maybe, well, maybe not. I actually also got some different sprockets too. I'm gonna go one up on the front and two down. No, excuse me, one up in the front and two up in the rear. So those two combination, including the smaller tires, the smaller tires, that will actually gear it not the same as this gearing is. It will be slightly lower, just like a very small amount lower, only like 1 or 2% lower in gearing. So I think that would probably be just right. If I just go straight up with the Grom tires only and leave everything as is, that might be too much of a difference. I could probably get to redline pretty easily, I think. So I don't necessarily want that. I want to be able to just about almost touch redline, just about kiss it almost. That would be perfect as far as the gearing goes. So right now it's not quite there. If I just do the tires only and change the gearing or leave the gearing as is, I could probably hit redline. I'm thinking more easily, not really easily, but more easily and more often, which I don't want to do. I want it to be just barely hit it every once in a while, maybe with a slight tailwind I might be able to hit it, but well, that's about it. Because I don't want to be hitting redline, bouncing off the rev limiter. It doesn't harm the engine itself, but I don't necessarily want to wind out the engine as much. But also when you're bouncing off the rev limiter, the rev limiter is there to protect the engine, so the engine is fine. But what happens when you bounce off the rev limiter is that and I'm not sure with this bike, but I know on my scooter, my Elite 110, when you're bouncing off the rev limiter, it basically it kills the spark, like every other spark I think it kills, but it still feeds gas. So basically it's running kind of rich. You're wasting fuel basically. So if you did that with this, if it's set the same way as my scooter, I don't want to waste gas basically. I don't want to waste fuel. I'm not sure if this one has a hard cutoff, because that's cutting the spark. Every other spark is a soft cutoff. Well, cutting fuel is a hard cutoff. So I'm not sure if Honda did a hard cutoff, cutting off fuel on this, as well as cutting spark. So for sure it cuts off spark, but I'm not sure about fuel. I don't think so though, because usually when you cut off fuel, it's very noticeable. It's much more as you hit that rev you could feel the transition in no power to power. It's very noticeable when the fuel is cut off. When the fuel is not cut off, it feels a little bit softer. It's more gentle of a red line. So I'm not sure what Honda did with this. The times that I did go downhill and I basically topped out at 63, I didn't notice a hard cutoff, or I didn't notice it being very abrupt. It felt very soft. So that's why I'm guessing that it only has a soft cutoff and not a hard cutoff. Red line, rev limiter. What else about this bike? I really can't think of anything bad about it. I mean, it's a fantastic bike. Oh, one thing as far as fit goes. So sometimes when you're sitting on here, actually, guys, when you're sitting on here, it doesn't really matter. But when you're at the light, for example, at a stop, and I put my foot down, my thigh is like, literally always right against here. So this right here is kind of bulky. When you look at it from the front or even the top here, see how bulky and how much it sticks out. So So that's one thing I don't like about this. Yeah, it's a great looking exhaust for a stock exhaust, but I wish it was a little bit more, a little bit more recessed in, or they did something with this shape, this cover, this chrome cover shape, where it was like a little bit more recessed in. I think the pipe inside is actually round, so if they maybe follow that round contour a little bit more, it would be less likely for your thigh to sit on here basically. And it's not hot where it burns or nothing like that, but I could definitely feel the warmth. I could feel the warmth of it. So it does feel warm, but not not hot. Man, I can't think of anything else with this bike. I think that's it. So that's my 1,000-mile review. So the engine actually got much smoother. After like 300-400 miles or so, it got much smoother. The clutch, that clutch stutter that I had initially went away after the I think after the third oil change. Probably by 500 miles or so, it went away. 500 or 600 miles, it went away. Yeah, that's it. The tank, holds about 1.5 gallons, so you get a pretty good, decent mileage out of it. If I get 120 miles a gallon, 120 miles a gallon, 1.5 gallons, that's like, you could probably get what is that? Off the top of my head, I'm thinking like 180 miles or something like that. But it's probably it's probably safe to go 150 miles before you reach your low fuel, I think. So yeah. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.